Attention Austin guitarist, are you in need of setup or repair on your axe? Well, I have the guy for you. That's my friend Jason Swedberg over at J. Scott Lutherie. You can find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Facebook. Gang, I've been taking my guitars to Jason for over 20 years, and not only does he do the very best job, but he has the fastest service and the best prices in town. Find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Facebook or jason.swedberg@gmail.com. Gang, whether it's acoustic or electric, Jason is your guy. Get your guitars fixed.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys all are having a good week, whatever it is you're doing. My week just got a whole lot better. I got to the beach. I'm at the beach. I'm up in the very top room, which my cousin Emily is sleeping in right now. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here, man. It's nice to get out of the apartment. Nice to get a change of scene. Nice to be around family. Nice to be around other people, especially family is what I should really say. Anyway, yeah, I'm here. Things are going good. Emily and I had a lot of cocktails last night and are up early this morning, walking dogs, doing stuff, doing the whole thing. Gang, I have a great show for you guys today. Singer-songwriter Scott Strickland is on the show. He has a brand new album, underground album, Tapes from the Board, that came out in September. He's also got a Patreon that you can find. You can find him at scottstricklandband.com. Now, I heard about Scott. I was recording at with these guys at 601 Studios. That's Eric Harrison and Michael Engbar. And they were telling me about Scott, and they played me a couple of his tunes. He was incredible. Anyway, I reached out to him a while back, and we actually had this talk a couple of months ago. This was, I think, back in October when we actually had this conversation. But it was great talking to Scott. He's such a nice guy, such a talented songwriter, and such a great singer. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy my conversation with this amazing singer-songwriter. This is Scott Strickland. Let's get down.
1, 2, 3, 4. Something in the way she moves me.
How are you holding up throughout this whole thing?
Like, I mean, the COVID thing is kind of, it's you know, it's just weird. It's extremely strange, and there's just, I don't know. It's weird. I think it's the weirdest, probably most challenging experience. One of the most challenging experiences I think I've had in my lifetime. Be honest with you. It's yeah, it's been challenging for sure.
On what levels?
Well, I mean, you know, most of, you know, my income came from playing shows. Like, most of what I was doing was, you know, like actually gigging and stuff. There was, you know, I didn't really have an infrastructure for online support or any of that stuff, and been building on that a little bit. But because of COVID and all that stuff, it's been, not only am I not making any money, but I'm also making a record, which is like,
right.
I'm just him. And I think the double whammy on that is just what's really kind of killing me right now. But I mean, it's good. I mean, there are so many good things that are happening amidst so much of the bad stuff. And I think it's kind of hard. I mean, it's easy to kind of say, well, because there are no gigs and there is not a whole lot of money right now, you know, things are just kind of in the shit. But I really do think that, you know, there are like these little diamonds in the rough. And I think one of those diamonds is kind of what I'm doing as far as the record goes and everything.
It sounds good, man. Where are you at with it so far?
I am
Like, at what stage are you in?
we're still tracking. We got some strings and some horns to track, and some harmonies, some background vocals, and then it goes to mixing after that. And it's been a year-long process of doing this.
And you're doing it with Eric and Mike over at 601. Yeah, those guys are cool, man.
Yeah, Carlos and I also did a couple of tunes. Carlos Sosa and I, we worked on a few tunes too, but most of the stuff is coming from 601, which is pretty awesome.
You've also released like a bunch of just kind of live stuff you've done. You had this live from the board thing that you put out a couple months ago.
Yeah. So that was a just like a mixes kind of thing. I knew I wanted to release it a long time ago, and pretty shortly after we did it, but stuff just got in the way, got busy or whatever. But it's out there now. And then we did like a tones and trees thing with
I saw
me
that.
and my friend Eddie. So just us on guitar, kind of doing some stuff, which is kind of nice. But it's going to be really good to to get back to some studio stuff, because that's that's where it's at, kind of.
Yeah.
So
when you say you were playing gigs before, like, I've heard your name for a long time, but have we ever met?
We met once. We met at
Was it a terrible experience for you?
No,
Okay,
it was
good,
actually, it was
good,
great.
good.
It was great because I know that you're really good friends with Anar,
I am.
and Anar basically gives me a swift kick in the balls every single time I talk to him.
Anar
and
kicks
when I
everyone in the
advise-
balls all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And every time I talk to him, I just get like 5 more wrinkles in my brain or something. But I met both of them. Well, I met, I guess, both of you in person for the first time at an Austin Music Foundation mixer
Oh, okay.
kind of thing. Yeah. And that was, I think that was, when was that? Like last fall, last November, about a year ago. That's when I met you, like, in person. And you're a cool guy.
Thanks,
man.
man.
And I listened to the podcast, and
I'm a lot more juiced up in those situations than Anar is.
yeah. Nice.
I'm not ashamed of it.
No, I'm nothing to be ashamed of at all. It's totally cool. And by the way, I just want to say thank you for having me on. Like,
Sure,
I
man.
really, really, really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I've been hearing there's guys like that where you hear your name and you this is a guy out there doing stuff. And when I went in and recorded a tune with Eric and Mike over at 601, right, like a week before the end of the world.
Right.
Like, I went in for a day and we did this tune. And but they were talking about you then, and then I see them post stuff about you, and so and Anar was saying you're really good, and so well, I mean, Anar was saying that's great, that's awesome, because every time I go to him, he's like, "You're not go back to the woodshed, go, like you're not ready yet, you're not doing this yet." But yeah, working with Mike and Eric is really. It's very fun, and it's very like a creative, very laid back kind of atmosphere that they have, as there. And Mike plays drums and Eric plays bass, and so you can just get most of it done, in a day. Is that how you're doing the record with those guys? Doing that, and then they bring in Andrew Nolte? Yeah. Hey, dude, they got their own wrecking crew.
Yeah, I know, and I mean it's funny because, like, us recording, like, I mean, I had kind of the Scott Strickland band kind of thing, and I had my guys that I was going with, but with COVID, it just, I mean, everyone's just so busy doing other things, and like, I don't know, like, where they've been or who they've been around or what their schedule is or what's going on, and it's been really hard to like line up what needs to happen and also keep everybody safe. So it was just like, hey, let's just work on the bones and see what we can do after that. Let's just keep, drums, bass, guitar, we'll build it up, and we did that for like, I think 3 months. And then finally we were able to bring in some other people, but it's still like the scheduling and the, now that I'm wanting to bring in more people at this point, COVID cases are on the rise and all that. So it's just about keeping everybody safe. And it's kind of problematic a little bit, because I'm terrified of getting this stuff. Like, I had asthma as a kid. I just don't want anything to do with this. So, yeah.
You're married, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is your wife a music jammer?
No, my wife, she's got like a day job thing. So she does like tech support and stuff for Apple, which is really nice because I feel like if I were married to a musician, I'd probably be competing with her. You know?
I've always wondered that. I've never
like that.
I've never gotten high on my own supply. What is it called?
Yeah. And, I mean, she's also a ball buster, and she's great. I mean, she's the one that does everything sort of behind the scenes. Like I'm kind of going to her and, talking to her about like, ideas or whatever. She's like, no, do this instead, or no, do that instead. Like all of my live streams and stuff, she's kind of like got a huge voice in that. So she's very much like the invisible hand that, sort of like kind of
puppet master.
Yeah. That kind of pushes me in the right direction, I mean, and it's nice to have that because she's so far removed from everything that's going on. So I could just bring anything to her, and then she's able to be just extremely objective about it and just give me like just objective advice from like an operations standpoint, which is really, really nice.
That's what I think people think Einar's kicking them in the nuts when they're talking to him about stuff, because there's a thing. We had this manager, and he came out of nowhere, and like people were always like, "Oh yeah, man, you guys are legends." Or like, "Yeah, man, I know."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, man, you're not legends, man." Like, like, why? He would always do the same. I know Einar has this talk. Like, basically, like, what would you do if you walked in and saw you playing? That was basically like his thing. Like, would you be like, "Oh yeah, this is as cool as Oasis or whatever was happening, Radiohead or something"? Yeah,
like he's asked me that before, and I'm like,
that's
I don't
kind
know.
of the question,
Yeah,
and that shit, man. That's the toughest. That's the toughest thing to do, because your songs come from inside of you. They're your feelings. Right. You're getting them out in this poetic and beautiful way that you can sing along to. Mm-hmm. And why wouldn't you think it was awesome? Because it's coming out of you. It's hard, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what were these shows you were playing before COVID ended? Like, what were you doing?
Well, like, so we had a residency at the Four Seasons, which is,
That's
fancy.
Kind of,
it's a fancy little hoity-toity kind of thing. I was doing like some acoustic stuff. I mean, I think I had like one show a week at least. And, we have like a trio thing on like a Saturday or Friday, depending on like what's happening or whatever. And, that was nice because that kind of like paid the bills. And then we did like the 1-to-1 bar, festivals, a few festivals. We go out of town. Like we did a couple of festivals in Helotes and I think it was just that one festival. Yeah. In Helotes, but, rodeo, like a few like local gigs and stuff. Nothing like too, profound. I do also like go to Memphis and, kind of sort of wanted to branch out there and do some acoustic stuff. And we did have a little tour from Austin to Hammond, Louisiana and back, which was, pretty cool. That was a nice little ride. But yeah, I mean, it's, they're kind of low profile things, I do like, ham shows, like, Cattle call me up for something and I'll be like, yeah, I'll do that or whatever.
I think you were on that Halloween Plankenstein.
I did. Yeah. We did that. And also I forgot about that. It was I forget what they even call it. Like the Statesman, the 360 thing. They had us on, they had us do that show. That was really cool. That was awesome. Cause it was like right before the Kickstarter launch for the record. And then, we're doing those shows with those songs and, we've got like horns and everything. And that was a lot of fun. That was a whole lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there's one more thing before we go back to this. You have a Patreon?
I do.
What do you do with that?
So that just kind of, it's like the OpEx thing. It just is, I mean, I'm not paying myself at all. I'm just like kind of, like taking the unemployment as, where it's at right now, whatever. But all that Patreon money is just going to either, like, I mean, it just goes into the business account. It's just like, sure. And I hate to be so like cut and dry about it, but I mean, it's like, like website, storage space,
Sure.
But I mean, it's really cool because I get to like actually engage with people that are
Fans,
patrons,
Yeah.
like that act like actual fans and give them content. And whenever I get this merch thing going, they'll be able to benefit from that. And it's, I mean, building that community is that's something that's really cool to me. That's like, I think that's where it's at for me is building that community, which is awesome. But yeah, I do have a Patreon, and it's fun. It's a lot different than like posting something, just like on Twitter or like on your socials or something like that. Cause you're like, hey guys, this is
right.
Here's something
they
for
want
you.
to see it. It's
And
not
they
just
see it and they
passing
eat
by,
it.
like,
I don't want to say, yeah. They respond to it. And it's like, oh, this is great. This is really good. And I'm like, oh, thank you. It's pretty nice.
Dude, what kind of music do you play? What is that?
Man.
What is that called?
Singer, songwriter, Mike.
That's a job description. That's not a style of music.
Yeah.
Because,
okay.
Because Prince is a singer songwriter, but it doesn't sound anything like Jamie Harris. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say, I used to say like rock, jazz, soul kind of thing. I think that's where
I saw that on your thing. Yeah.
Where it's been for a while, but Mike was like, man, this like some of these songs have like an R&B rock, like soulful thing to them or something. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. That's a little bit more like, R&B, like we can do that, I guess. R&B and rock, like, yeah, why not? So I think that's where that's probably what I'm going to like start branding it as.
Okay.
'Cause it's nice.
Yeah. Where are you from, man?
Houston,
baby.
Yeah. Sunnyside, Houston, Texas. Yeah.
South side?
Yeah. South side for sure. Yeah.
Like what kind of south? Like by U of H or something?
Where's you? So U of H is like kind of like downtown-ish.
No,
or like,
south of downtown on 45.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
by
yeah.
Hobby
So like,
Airport, kind of.
yes, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
That's where I'm at. Nice, quiet little neighborhood. Neighborhoods all up in that area and everything. Got my first job at, Jack in the Box, which is, terrible. Terrible.
What's it like working at Jack in the Box?
It was,
what did you do?
well, they started me out on the fryers, which was kind of cool, because I kind of got the hang of it when I started reading the screens, but then they like moved me to the burger station and I couldn't figure out how to make the burgers. So they put me like, on like parking lot duty at that point. And then eventually I ended up like my mom ended up driving by one day just to like order food through the drive-thru. She sees me like cleaning the dumpster and she's like, you got to get yourself a different job. This is ridiculous. But I was 15 and I wanted my own money. So I was like, I got to do this. But
what did you want your own money for?
I was tired of asking my mom for shit.
Sure.
I was just like, Mama Ken, I want Mama Ken. I was like, no, let me go make my own money, figure this out, save a little nest egg, and get my own car or something. That's kind of what I did. Not from Jack in the Box. There was like a couple other jobs down the road that did that for me.
What'd your mom do?
She worked for, I think she was like what do you call it? Like an ophthalmologist assistant, I think. That's kind of where when I was of age to understand that people actually go out and do work for a living. And then after that, she became like HR management kind of thing. And so she started working in that. And then later on, she quit that job and said, screw this, I'm going to start my own business. And so she started running her own like tax advisory thing. And that's what she does in Houston now. And she just like works at home, makes a very decent living with no overhead, and, she's doing good. She's doing pretty good for herself.
Brothers and sisters or something?
I do. Yeah, I do. I have one older, like I have one older brother, one older half sister, and there's like two other brothers that I like. I've never met them before. Just one younger brother, one older half brother, one older half sister, and I'm close with my half sister. We talk like almost every day, and my brother and I we talk like every day basically. And I hear from my half brother like once in a while. But yeah.
What was like the music thing going on? Like, how did you get exposed to music?
Oh, that was, these are good questions. I mean, yeah, these are really good questions. So
I'm just coming up with them from the top of my head.
Well, my dad listened to a lot of, Anita Baker, Whitney
baby.
Houston, Kenny G, David Sanborn.
Kenny G.
Yeah, my dad was a softie.
I never met a person that actually listened to Kenny G. I know there's people out there because he's famous for something.
Yeah, and my dad just ate that up. I think today maybe call it yacht rock or something, but I mean,
I think it's beyond rock. It's smooth jazz, man.
Yeah, smooth jazz. Yeah. I mean, he's all about that stuff though, like Barry White.
Barry White's kind of cool.
Yeah. A lot of disco and there was like this one artist, her name was Tara Kemp. I don't know, she's very, very obscure. And I think she did like one album, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. My dad like brought this stuff home, and we were just kind of like jamming on it, and we wore that record out. And she had like one song on there that was I think it may have been a hit, but she was definitely like a flop. She was like, she was not. She didn't do anything else after that, basically. And I mean, I looked hard for it, but she didn't do anything else after that. But it was a pretty it was a pretty interesting household. It was really interesting. And my mom was like, Eric Clapton, James Brown, like Tower of Power, kind of thing. My mom was very Muddy Waters, very bluesy, and my dad was more of the R&B side. And I don't they'd have to kind of compromise a little bit about like what to listen to, but there was always really good music in the house, which is really nice.
Yeah.
When did
you like connect? Like when were you like, did you ask for a guitar or were you given one?
I stole it from my brother.
Fuck yeah.
Because my brother he was doing jazz band in high school, and I stole his guitar from him. I mean, I say I stole it. I would steal it from him, and he would know where it was, and I would just kind of like play on it a little bit. And one of my friends at the time, he would like teach me a few chords, and we ended up playing. The first song I ever played on guitar was like "Linger" by the Cranberries. Yeah. And that's kind of where things started as far as guitar goes. Like musically, though, it was like I was very much involved in like band when I was in middle school. And because you could start band at 6th grade, but you couldn't. My dad wanted me to play football, but you couldn't do football until the 7th grade for obvious reasons, probably. But so I joined the band, and like my first taste of like, I don't know, like having like a drum, like beating your chest and all this other stuff that was really cool was like a pep rally that we did. And the only thing I did during that entire pep rally for like an hour and a half was shake a tambourine. And it was like the best experience.
That's coolest.
It was like the coolest thing in the world. And then I started playing trumpet and cornet. But I couldn't read music. And so my band teacher would like write down the valves that I was supposed to like press for the songs, but it worked great, And then he was like, "This is how you solo, and this is what you do on the trumpet, and you can, And I was like lead trumpet, But he didn't have the patience to teach anyone how to actually read music, so it was just here's your charts, here's your numbers, and his name was Don Dennis, and he was a great guy, and he just he came to work every day, and he just loved what he did, and that's really what kind of got me started into, I guess some kind of music thing or something. It was that was a really nice experience.
Yeah. When did you pick up guitar that you stole? When did you steal that guitar?
I stole it when I was 16. I got my first guitar, I think when I was 17. And then I think I wrote my first song when I was 18.
What was that?
I think that's how that happened. What?
What was that song like?
Oh, well, I was, coming of age and, writing, songs about like love and all this other stuff. And I don't know, they're really cheesy, and it was like, I love you. I want to be whatever gets me through to you. It was just like, just like it was like just cheesy something.
Yeah.
It was something like if one of the people of Backstreet Boys were to play it like and have like their pop thing or whatever.
Right.
I was the acoustic stripped down version of that.
Were you a kid? Like, how old are you?
I'm 36 now.
Okay. So okay. So wait, you were 16 in 2000?
I think so. Yeah. If that math is right. Yeah. I'm just
That
going to go
math
with
is
you.
right.
Yeah.
My math is,
No, so
Nobody's
yeah,
better
so I
at
graduated in the year
math than me.
2000. Yeah, I was 16 because I graduated in 02 and that would have put me at like 17 or something. So yeah.
So you came up with those guys. Like those guys were a thing like when you were a teenager. Did you buy into that whole Backstreet
No.
NSYNC?
No, I couldn't. No, I like the idea of it, but I was not there. No.
All right. What were you listening to at that point?
I think Nirvana. I think what was it? I think Gangstar had come up with an album around then called The Owners, which is what got me like into my hip hop thing. Like Gangstar turned me on to, Jay-Z and later Kanye and, back to like, number of other like hip hop artists I can't think of at the top of my head. But I think that's kind of what did that for me. And then because my brother, let me back up here. So my brother is an artist as well, and he does hip hop music, so he like, raps and stuff. And he also has like a merch game going. So he sells like albums and he sells shirts, which is really cool because his shirts kind of are indicative of his music, which I think, I'm definitely taking a page from his playbook on that. But he is like, this kind of hip hop guy, and I'm the rock guy. But he, we were listening to like Deftones and Matchbox 20, and I don't know. It was like I guess like Nickelback and those '90s grunge bands, and like that whole like kind of like post grunge, like I don't know, just like weird obscure bands. But my mom brought me home 3 CDs, and one of them was The Verve, if I'm remembering this right.
Yeah.
Urban Hymns was the name of that record.
Yeah.
And then she brought me home, I think it was Every Day by the Dave Matthews Band. And then there was something else. And I don't know, that was like my experience into like rock music. And I had this like really big affinity also for like your Avril Lavigne's or your Michelle Branches for some reason. I just really loved, your Vanessa Carltons and all that stuff. I really just liked how they were so emotive and their experiences and their emotions and stuff. And I really kind of wanted to bring some of that to what I was doing. But I think that like Dave Matthews Band for me was something that was very, very different than anything else that I was listening to at the time. And then I really messed up and went to Target and like picked up a CD of theirs called Listener Supported. And that was like, I think I was like in at that point. I was sold. Just listening to that, like that live crowd. And I think that was the first like live CD I had ever even bought ever. Right. So, I don't know, just listening to that music and kind of seeing how plain and how like simple and cut and dry those studio records are, but then also seeing at the same time them really open up and really give people a show, and like no 2 shows is exactly the same. Like that there's something about that quality of work that I really, really, really aspire to, not necessarily like a jam bandy kind of thing, but just the ability to put on just this amazing fucking show night after night, knowing that like, you know, you're probably never going to do the same thing,
Right.
twice or whatever. So that's what really kind of got me thinking, maybe I can play a little bit of music. And at the time I was also going to film school. So I was like, you know,
Where were you going to film school?
Stephen F. Austin. I went to Nacogdoches, Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, Texas. And I got my undergrad from there in filmmaking. And then they were like, well, we got this program where you can make like your own film on your own time, just do your own thing. And, you know, we'll call that your master's. And I was like, well, I mean, that's cool. So I went back to get my master's from there, my MFA from there, and, you know, taught photography, learned, did some, you know, studied art history and stuff. Had this really amazing affinity for photography. I love photography.
I mean, do you do it? I mean, do you practice?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I think that there's so much to be said about, you know, before, like when I was going to school and when I was graduating, so I was graduating college in 2007. It took me 2007. And, you know, that's when Facebook and Instagram and all these platforms were starting to pick up steam and actually really become a thing. Before that, it was, you know, the artist can be obscure, and then it's the fan's job to find out about who that artist is. And now, I mean, that's completely changed, and it's all up. I mean, you know, like, I mean, I say that Instagram like killed photography, but I would also I would argue that it's more about story, and that stories, you know, given to people in drips of content, and content is the game, but the story has to be meaningful. And if the story is meaningful, then people will eat up whatever you're selling. And that includes, you know, photography or video or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I do dabble in photography, but it's really hard to, I think, be appreciative of just be taking your real, I mean, because, I mean, you can do it with your phone now. Like your phone can take better pictures than, you know, $3,000 cameras. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. So, but yes, I do practice.
What was your, well, like, what did you shoot? Like, what's your thing you like to shoot? Naked ladies?
No. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I have done nudes, but I think.
Nudes, sorry.
I think my thing is more portrait. Like I have this really. So if you have a 50 millimeter lens, you can get about maybe 3 feet, 4 feet away from a subject or something. And that's cool. You can get like some nice, like depth of field or what have you, but it's not like as interesting or as engaging as, and I don't quote me on photographers right now, cause I'm, you know, I was not prepared to cite photographers, but if you have like a wider lens on there, like a 35 or like a 28 or something, and you're getting closer to the subject, it allows for you to engage more with them.
Right.
And if you can, if you can engage more with them, that portrait could be better. And I'm such a shy photographer. I feel still like I just can't just walk up to a stranger, just randomly engage with them. Like, like Edward Westonwood or Richard Avedon, or some of those cats, you know. But I mean, something that I've got the rest of my life to work on it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you shoot your own pictures ever?
Yeah.
Like your
I
own
do.
band photos or whatever?
Oh, my own band photos.
Or
Sometimes,
your own
yeah,
headshots or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if I'm like, if we're in the studio, or if we're at a gig or something, I've got tons of behind the scenes work.
That's
like
cool,
tons of just like stuff of us on stage, just kind of getting things together. I just don't know what to do with any of that stuff because no one wants to see anybody like tune in a bass or something. Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, that's not a bad idea there. You're onto something, Johnny.
Yeah,
that's good.
I am. I don't know how I just came up with that.
Well, you know,
Go ahead.
what's funny is that like, so the stories that I've heard from you and Einar about like how you guys were, it was like, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was back in the 90s, right? And you guys were set up, like you had like a rehearsal room set up where you just had like your albums and you had like all your merch and I guess during South by like A&Rs and stuff would come to town. And that's like how you guys got one of like your big deals is by like just being the shit and just like, you know, literally putting yourself out there.
Right. Putting our own show thing and not leaving it in the hands of like a 3-minute sound check at a gig with 19 people on it at a place that normally doesn't have music.
Right. Yeah. And that's that. I don't know. I still think that's innovative as all get out. And
it's innovative. It takes a lot of people. It takes, you know, it's one of those things, dude, like this whole thing isn't like it wasn't just that great idea. It was like we had that, or Einar really was the one because he did it with another band that he had been in. And then he told our manager, but our manager also had these partners that knew all these people. So we could get those people to our thing. And then we also had, you know, I was married at the time. I can't remember if Einar's girlfriend participated. I remember a few people's girlfriends or wives or whatever in the band were the ones that would like, hey, that way no one could say no. Like if you're playing South by, they're like, oh, when are you playing? Oh, Thursday night at 8. Oh, I have a dinner until 8:30 at the Four Seasons or something. I'm not going to make it. So you're like, oh, well, what time can you make it? Well, I'm not doing anything between 2 and 3 that after. Oh, perfect. Well, I don't have a car. Well, we have someone who could just come get. I mean, we were really for it. It took a village to make that happen. It wasn't just that show was a huge part of it, but it took everything else we had in our arsenal to sort of pull that off.
That's really cool. At some point, I'd love to sit down with you and talk more about that.
Yeah, and not to toot our own horn, but we also had to be good a whole bunch of times a day.
Right.
And at the drop of a hat, because sometimes we'd be sitting around, you know, smoking weed outside of this, you know, rehearsal place, and our manager would be like, hey, dude, the president of Capitol Records is on his way. Get in there and get ready to play. And you'd have to, like, take a sip of water and, like, boom, like, throw down.
Right.
You know?
Whatever. Yeah, damn.
Okay, so wait, I got to go to this other thing, because I went and listened to your first record, Fly to the Sun. Is that your first record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you using, like, open tunings and stuff?
No, that was...
why does that sound like that to me?
I
don't know why they sound like open tunings. And I've been doing this a long time.
I appreciate that. I'm taking that as a compliment right now. Thank you, Johnny. But I mean, mostly standard. I think the only tuning I think I had a capo on maybe, which is I think it's one of the. I can't remember what number it is on the thing, but it was. I think it's just a capo on the second fret, so that you know we got that. I think it's an F sharp minor kind of thing instead of an E minor. But I think that's the only one. Everything else is in standard tuning, and one of the things about that record, or I guess the way I approached it, was just letting things kind of be open and a little bit airy, where you know, I don't know, I didn't want to be too constrictive or too like percussive with it. I really kind of wanted to kind of just I had never done it before, and I didn't know what to do. And so, I mean, because, you know, playing live is definitely, that it's very, very different than being in the studio. I mean, there's a reason why they're called recording artists, you know.
Right.
And I really, that being my first time in the studio, I just kind of wanted to see where this went and you know, just see what happened. And it, I mean, turned out, you know, I mean, I love that record. A little tiny EP. But yeah, I think that's where that was. And it was just kind of like, you know, letting things ring out and, kind of, I don't like to play, with, like if there's an A, like you're going to bar an A chord and, you know, it's like open, 2-2 open. I'll typically not do that. I'll typically, just have like an A sus or something, or like I think it's, like you're kind of barring an A on upper on the upper on the fret, but then you're just kind of opening up those strings and just like there's just a couple of strings that you hit in that process. I wish I could
like this kind of thing, like
yeah.
That's why I thought it was. That's why I thought there was an open tuning, because they were like droning strings and
right.
And I'm kind of stupid, so
no. And like I think that's kind of been my approach with this for a while. As things have gone along, I've definitely gotten more percussive with things without trying to be like two Dave Matthews or two like John Mayer or something like that, because those styles are kind of taken and done. But there is something to having like those eighth percussive things, sure. and being able to kind of just have this beat, and you're kind of controlling every single little thing before the band even comes in. And so the band just follows you. And especially when you have limited rehearsal time, you can kind of like just start a tune and then they can, kind of follow along with you.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, not that I recommend ever playing a show without rehearsals, because that's not good. But
depends on what you're going for, man.
That's true. That is true.
I know some guys that are fucking amazing. I mean,
yeah,
and that's what they do. Like they just fly. That's their thing.
My guitarist is like that. My guitarist, he doesn't like to. I mean, his availability is limited, but he does not rehearse very much at all. I never know what's going to come out of his guitar before he does a solo. And half the time he's like, "Oh, I'm soloing." Yeah, you're soloing, and it's like he just kind of like goes for it.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Do you know like Scrappy Judd Newcomb?
Yeah.
Okay, like Scrappy, like I've been playing with him for years. He produced my last record. We write a bunch of stuff together, but through the 90s and the 2000s, I don't know, when did you get here?
2013.
Okay, so Momo's was already gone. There was a place called Momo's. But people, like he would be there, he'd be playing his set before mine, and I'd be like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I was going to hang out and watch you." I'm like, "Do you want to just play?" And then he would just play. He'd never heard the songs, but it was always like the best shit anybody ever played on my stuff, where you'd be like, "God damn, that's awesome."
Wow. Yeah. That's balls. I would mess that up so bad. Probably.
Some guys are just like Scrappy thrives in that. That's like,
I know,
David Garza. The same. David just loves to be in a situation where he has no, it's a very jazz sort of like free approach to it, which I think is beautiful. And it's mostly just being in the moment and knowing that this live recording thing is just fleeting. And you just got to enjoy every note as it's coming. It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm a guy that has structured songs and shit. So I'm always like, hey, let's go over some stuff. If it's more than just a guitar player, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And I have to say, when, because I saw your picture on Instagram when you were at 601. And so I was like, hey, you have like, Johnny's stuff here, right? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, can I listen to it? And it sounds great, man.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to go like, and then I heard it and I was like, that's him? Oh, man, that guy's terrible.
No. There's nothing but good things to say from everybody that, everybody that knows you, and I've asked about you quite a bit. They have nothing but good things to say about you. So
that's good. Thank you. Same with you.
Oh, that's good.
So we're on good footing. Can I ask you a question, man? It's kind of weird.
Shoot.
It's not weird, but it's definitely less comfortable than the rest of our conversation has been.
Okay, yeah.
A few months ago, like after the murder of George Floyd, there's like this grand awakening. There are protests. There are cats in town like Jackie Venson, who I've spoken to directly about this and stuff. People that have taken a stand, and then like I had a lot of people on my show, and we'd have these, pretty intense conversations about people feeling marginalized race-wise in this music scene. And I'll preface this with saying, I was born in Miami. I have half siblings that are younger than me. They've only lived there their whole life. I have a brother that came here 2 years ago or something. I took him everywhere, all my places, the Continental Club, the Sea Boys, the Gallery, the places I go and the thing. And then we're coming back in an Uber from Hotel Vegas at 2 a.m. one night full night of just all kinds of fun. And he just looks at me and he goes, "Do you know any black people?" Like, you just took me to like 20 places in like the most
Right.
liberal town quote unquote liberal town I've ever been in. And there's no black dudes anywhere you go.
Right. Yeah. And what's
Or there's a guy
is-
like Kalu or something, or a Jackie. You know what I'm saying? Or you'll be
Right.
there. Do you feel marginalized racially, or have you felt marginalized racially in this scene?
I think I'm going to have to go with a yes on that.
Yeah.
But it's not like I don't think that I don't think it's intentional. I don't think that people, the who's who of people that are like booking
Yep.
or whatever are saying we don't want black people playing these shows. I honestly think that it is something that a lot of the music community in Austin, I think, is just out of touch with.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, if I'll take like Blues on the Green, for instance. Shiny Rips has done Blues on the Green a number of times. Bob Schneider has done Blues on the Green a number of times. Kevin Russell's a very good friend of mine. Very, very, very good friend of mine. And, kind of like taught me what I need to know to basically survive in Austin playing music, or just survive at all playing music, which was to kind of become a dictator of my own craft. And that conversation kind of changed where I am trajectorily. But it's much easier because you know what the draw is going to be. You know who these guys are. They're going to show up. They're going to do a great job, and no one has to really work very hard to do anything. The problem is
Laziness.
they're lazy.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to be said about how convenient that is. For you to just, I'll just, I'll call Kevin, or I'll call Bob, or I'll call, someone, any of the hitters in town, they'll get called to do something. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Now, I think what Jackie did in that, first off, you've got the most multicultural Blues on the Green ever. Kalu closed it out, and I thought that was just that lineup was freaking amazing. She was on ACL, TV as well, and all that stuff. But I think that Jackie put a lot of herself in that, and she really took a stand. And I think that she honestly took a risk. I mean, a huge risk.
Huge risk.
And I think with that one statement, with that one thing that she did, she was kind of able to just get these people to just go, "Oh, wow, this is what we've been doing. Okay, we've got to, to kind of just challenge the status quo a little bit and say we can do better, and we can do things a little bit differently." And those talks have been talks for a long time. Like Shaka wants like a Black Lives Music Fund, and that's been in the works for a while now. I know people that work at organizations that I'm very, very close with these people, and I'm very close with these organizations, and they're like, the people that I work directly with are complaining to me because these organizations and the people that run these organizations are very whitewashed organizations. And it's not, like if I wanted, I cannot clean the toilets at a Continental Club or a gallery show or a what's the new one they opened up? Seaboys or Saxon or any of those who's who venues of Austin. I'm not getting in those doors, but it's not because of the color. I don't think it's because of the color of my skin. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. I don't think that Joe Abels is racist, but I do think that there is like this system in place. And I know a band that was also like me, and they could not clean toilets. to get into any of those places, but they end up getting a Black Fret grant, and now they've got a residency at one of these places. So it's like you are putting the oligarchs of music into one room and with some bar owners, and you're having these conversations about who's going to get what and what's going to happen here and all of these politics and everything. And while you're doing that, you are excluding and marginalizing a huge, genre of music. You are excluding a huge part of what makes Austin Austin and what makes Texas Texas, by not having, maybe a Tejano band one night, or maybe having, like an R&B group one night. I mean, one of the I did a piece with the Sims Foundation. They asked me a few questions about the racial injustice in Austin, and I said, like on 12th Street, the name of that place, Dozen Street. The name of the place was Dozen Street. It closed down recently, but Wednesday night, like Butter and Jam, you had like Neo and a bunch of other cats that have been doing the Austin thing for a very, very, very long time, play some of the most amazing music that you will ever hear in this town. And the only way you're going to hear that stuff is if you go to Houston or if you go to New Orleans, because they'll run that kind of music in those cities on a Saturday night or a Friday night. But in Austin, there's one day to see it, and it's Wednesday night at, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. or something. And, I do think that there's a lot of change that needs to happen in terms of not just musicians of color, but like other musicians that, that need that kind of representation, that want that, the ability to kind of get on one of these stages so that they don't have to worry about, producing their own draw. They can, a lot of these venues have a built-in crowd, and a lot of these musicians and artists do not get represented because they know, again, I think it goes back to laziness, who these people are,
sure,
what they'll do, all that stuff. They know the bill, they know the pay and all that other, and they just don't want to mess with anything else. And I think that tree needs to shake big time.
Yeah.
When things kind of come back. So yes, I do think that there's injustice. I don't think it's intentional, but I think that we should stop being so fucking lazy about it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's good to hear that too. In that way.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this though, but do you think, like, since the Jackie thing, do you feel like there has been some kind of cognizant change that's happened?
I think it's starting.
Meaningful change, not just like hashtag Black Lives Matter, and then a couple weeks later we're back with Bob Schneider and Shiny Ribs at a place.
Right.
Nothing against those guys; they're all my friends too. So,
yeah, right. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I mean, I like them. I like Bob too. I love Bob's music, his podcast or his Patreon are hilarious.
Me and Einar and Frenchie. I mean, we're all from an era,
Yeah, I mean, and I think the conversation is starting, and I think that one of the reasons why there's so much, or why there has been so much complacency, is because, I mean, I think it's, for one, we're lazy, like we were talking about before. But I think that the other part is that we feel like once we've done one thing or a couple of things or something, we've watered the plant, kind of thing, and it's like, that's what we've done and we're good. And we feel like that's enough to kind of keep that going for the next, 3 or 4 years or something. And when you turn back around, it's like you have this, you're literally in the same problem, if not worse, than you were before. Yeah. And I think that while we're having those talks right now, and while we're starting to kind of change things a little bit, at least from, the AC, the 360 kind of deal, the ACL TV kind of arena, it needs to have a trickle down effect. And I think that the only way that's going to happen is if, these bar owners get really honest with themselves and they say, we could do better. Yeah. And I think that we have to have that conversation. And I think that we have to continue to have that conversation indefinitely, in perpetuity, for, as I mean, we have to always continue pushing that needle forward, because I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think we're in the position politically that we're in right now, is that we just, we kind of think that we're in this post-racial society, and then we just stop caring, and then we don't vote because, who cares? Our vote doesn't matter. And then, like these, kind of, there's puppets behind the strings pulling everything anyway. And it's like, no, your vote actually does matter.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you don't exercise that right, you kind of like, you kind of get what's happening right now.
Right.
In terms of, the current political climate. So
it's interesting to be having this conversation the day before Election Day, but this podcast won't come out for a few weeks.
Right.
So that'll be weird.
Mm-hmm.
We might be living in a whole different world by then.
Yeah. I
don't even know what that means.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that because, it won't matter in a couple of weeks anywhere. Right. Maybe it will. Hopefully it's great, but maybe, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So what are you doing now to play shows? Like, what are you doing? You did some live streams, but then I saw you write some things saying this is going to be my last live stream of the year.
Yep. Yeah. And is
that Einar's idea?
No.
Oh.
I kind of and I was talking to Jackie about this too, because she works like her ass off, and I'm like, how do you do? What is it you do? Like, how do you have the energy to keep going? And she's, and I was talking with her about it, and she was telling me that, like, if you don't have it in you to keep doing what you're doing, just kind of take a little break, just take a pause, and no one's going to hate you for it. So I think that as, I've been doing stuff with like the voting stuff and working with, Austin, Texas musicians, which is a nonprofit group that, with a bunch of people that I love, and I have like a virtual family with them. That's the Nakia thing. Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. Huh? What is
that?
Oh, it's like a music empowerment kind of thing. It's just like giving musicians a voice,
okay,
which is pretty nice. And, there's like a fair pay committee and a votes committee and a reach committee. So we're like going into, the East Side, like, underprivileged communities and trying to help them. Right now we've got a project with the Dory Miller Auditorium. We're trying to get some money to like get that place back into a venue, which would be amazing. It's like this giant basketball court that, it's only used as a basketball court, but it used to be used for a lot of different shows and whatnot back when, there was a Black music scene here. And it's funny because like, I know we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but I also had the honor and the esteem and the privilege of meeting Mr. Harold McMillan. And he's just like this guy that, he just doesn't take any shit from anybody. And I love him for that. And he's trying to keep Kenny Durham's backyard from being, gutted and turned into like retail boxes and all this other stuff for apartments. And that's what he's working on right now with the city council to try and do. But the part of the Austin, Texas musicians is like helping basically city council make decisions on what should happen with music in the city. And I find that very, very empowering. So
that's good.
Yeah. And like working on all that stuff and, the live streams, they take a lot of work because unlike me being smart about my live streams, I actually do them live, which is apparently not really like a thing that happens sometimes. And I need to kind of take a break and reset and figure out,
right. Yeah.
Can I keep playing the same songs all over again? Can I do them in a different way? I've done them in different, like step downs, full step downs, just to make them sound interesting. I've done them on electric. I've done them on acoustic.
Bossa Nova.
I've played them fast and slow. So right. It's like, I don't know. It's like, how do you sit down in this chair and do the same thing over and over again and keep making it interesting, without like a looping machine and all that stuff. And I don't know how to do that yet. And I need to figure that out.
Right.
It's because it's also about keeping people involved. And there was a lot of, when the pandemic first hit, there were all the shows went away, and we had it was South by. We had like tons of shows lined up.
Yeah.
All this stuff was great. And I find it also interesting. I'll say this, that like COVID happens and then everything shuts down. And then you have the second wave coming again. And like these 2 times are like the 2 busiest times of music for the city because you have South by and all this stuff happening. In summertime, it kind of dies down a little bit, but you have a few festivals. But like, this time of year is when you're making your money.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God. But, when the pandemic first hit, it was like, okay, so how do I stream live? Because I had no idea how to do any of this shit, like at all, like no way. And it was like, okay, you got to buy this, you got to buy that, you got to learn this OBS. And I was like, what the fuck is OBS? And, how do I do this? And okay, I got to have a hardline. It's just like all of this stuff they have to figure out in order to engineer a good live stream, in addition to me having to learn a little bit about Logic and all that crap. So like, not crap. Logic's amazing, but that was tough. And so I don't know. I need to, now that I've kind of figured out how to do this and do it well, I kind of want to push that envelope a little bit more and see what what I'm capable of doing. And so I need to take some time for that. But the problem is that last live stream never happened. So
you did this big dramatic announcement and you never.
I know. We'll do it this Friday. I think this Friday will be perfect actually, because it'll be after the election. So live stream this Friday. Well, this will come out a couple of weeks from then.
So this will have already happened, and Scott Strickland is taking away his live streams for the rest of the year.
Sorry about that.
When do you think this album is going to be done, and what's it going to be called, and what's going on with that? Do you know?
So I think that I really, first off, my Kickstarter backers, I don't think I would be doing this record right now if it wasn't for them, but because they, help fund it, I have a fiduciary responsibility to finish the record and actually get them their shit. So I think that's why I've been pushing so hard for it. Unfortunately, that money was supposed to kickstart the record, not fund it. And so shit's gotten really expensive. And I did not know how expensive making a record could be, and I'm not going to go into numbers, but I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. But
it's not like taking the board tapes from 1-to-1 and putting them up on Bandcamp at all.
No, not at all. No, it's insane. But I think the record is going to, and so what I was really trying to do was get the record finished so that I could mail it out by Christmas. Right. I was telling Mike and Eric, it was so funny. I was like, guys, we got to get this record done. Like, I want to get it to everyone I want to surprise everyone at Christmas. And they're like, you're not going to have this fucking record done by Christmas. Like, stop it. Just stop it. And I was like, so I think we're going to have everything tracked and everything's going to be done tracked wise, I think, before Thanksgiving, which is really good.
That's cool.
And then they're going to go into mixing, which is going to take a while. I don't know how long that's going to take. It's probably going to take a while. And then there's like, I'm thinking that the record's going to come out this fall. Like the entire record will come out fall of 2021. But in the meantime, it's like we're releasing singles, content kind of thing.
Yeah.
Throughout. And it's about, I really want to have a good release strategy with it. And,
I want you to.
We have to. Like, I can't just like put it out there and be like, here's that record,
Yeah.
That's it. It's done. Like, it's just, it's over, if you do that. So I really have to try hard to figure out what all of that looks like. So hopefully, the record will definitely be done by more than likely probably the end of this year, if not January. Actual release probably fall, but Kickstarter backers and stuff will probably start getting their stuff in the spring. Good. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
good.
And then we'll probably do some pre-order stuff and all that, and we'll figure it all out.
Yeah, what's the best way people follow you on like Instagram and Facebook?
So Scott Strickland. Strickland like the propane band at Instagram, the Strick SC, at either my personal Instagram or my Twitter. I'm very militant on Twitter. So
yeah, I noticed your thing was private. Yeah.
Is it private? My Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. I need to turn that off because that was not the intention there.
Turn that off.
Yeah. That's probably why I'm not getting a lot of hearts on my tweets.
Well, it's been great meeting you again.
Yeah, man. It's been great meeting you too. Also,
what?
The record, you asked me about the name of it. I think it's just going to be a self-titled.
Scott
I think it's
Strickland.
just going to. Yeah, I honestly, yeah. There's that whole band thing. Like, you put band after your name. I think I'm done with that shit. I think I'm just going to do Scott Strickland.
That's
Did you say that?
yeah. I'm very, very, very against the name of the person and then band.
Yeah, why? Tell me why.
It's just lazy. I mean, basically, like, you're naming yourself after the Marshall Tucker Band, the Allman Brothers Band. Like, you're like, it's nothing original. It's like just saying the Beatles.
Right.
Except you're inserting your name.
Yeah.
It just seems unimaginative to me. And it doesn't sound enticing.
Right. Yeah, I know, but my problem is that I cannot come up with good names for the life of. I couldn't do it. Like, if you put a gun to my head and was like, come up with a really cool name right now, I'm like, I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, like From the Tapes. Like, I mean,
I will say this: Andy Langer, who was called out by Jackie Venson, he is a guy in my life that has served. Also, he has served it for Einar as well. We're all very close and old friends, and he was a guy. I was starting a new thing, and he was like, "What are you going to call it?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let's just call it like Johnny Gaudi or the Johnny Gaudi Band or something." And he was like, "Oh God, dude." And then he was like, just try and think of something no one, just think of something that's unique and cool. And so I did come up with Johnny Gaudi and the Little Champions, which to me is like, it's better than just the band. It's like its own little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I do. I have this vision of like having like a whole string section and a horn section or something, and being like Scott Strickland and the Big Damn Band or something at some point, down the road, if I make it. But
I hope you made it. You make it. I had you on my show and everything. It'd be a waste of my time. I'm just fucking with you.
Well, now I gotta, now I gotta, do the thing, right?
Well, man, good luck putting out this record. It sounds great so far. I'm looking forward to hearing the finished product.
Yeah.
And
let me know what you think.
Yeah.
More.
Definitely. People can find you at scottstricklandband.com, and there's links there to go to your Patreon and become a patron. I believe strongly in that. People should do that. They can also go to your Bandcamp and buy records like Tones and Trees, Tapes from the Board, Volume 1, Try This Love, Fly to the Sun. All available there. Kick you a little cashish and keep you in business there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you, Johnny. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Let me down. Don't let me down.
Scott Strickland, man, wrote a great conversation. You can find him at scottstricklandband.com. You can find his music on Bandcamp, wherever it is you find music, but Bandcamp's a good place to find all of his stuff. You can also be a patron. Join him on Patreon. Just go to scottstricklandband.com for all of your Scott Strickland needs. Great conversation, great dude. I'm looking forward to meeting him in person again. Nice dude. Very, very talented. Hey, gang, don't forget when you're out there checking out scottstricklandband.com, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts, be it Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. New shows every Tuesday and every Friday. Every once in a while, I drop a From the Vault episode. And we're coming up on 1,000 episodes, aren't we? Shit, man. It's coming. It's coming. I'm freaking out, Captain. I'm freaking out. All right, guys, have a great day, whatever it is you're doing. Enjoy some more music from Scott Strickland. Let's get down.
That is